Guys, it's been a while, but while I've been gone, I've been cleaning up parts. The lathe bed is now painted, cleaned up. In the end, I stripped all the paint back using a wire wheel in a 5-inch grinder. So all the paint's stripped now. Most of the parts are being repainted. So now it's down to the exciting bits, and we're going to start reassembling the lathe. Now I'm going to do it in phases, so in this video I'm just going to focus on rebuilding the gearbox. And the other thing I've stumbled across is I managed to get a hold of a copy of the manual for this lathe, and in there it just gives some information on the specification, the operation, and there's some drawings in there which is going to prove to be useful, especially for putting the gearbox back together, which we'll be doing in this video. So on here you can see that it shows us all the part numbers. We can see where everything's going to go. So this will be what I'll be using to put all this back together. So we'll work through it step by step. So the first bit I'm going to put together will be this shaft here. This takes the drive on this keyway from the spindle. So we'll put that shaft together first. We'll get the parts together. I don't know if you can see, but in there's almost like a keyway cut into the hole where that shaft is going to go. It's not for a key, but it's actually for a felt wick. So we're going to put a replacement wick in there. This is what the old wick looks like that I took out. I don't know whether it needs replaced, but while I've got it apart, I'm gonna take out the opportunity to replace that. So I've just bought a sheet of 2mm felt, which I'm just going to use to cut strips off and replace those wicks. Yeah, so I think that's going to work well. What I'm going to do is just glue it in position. I'm not going to put a lot of glue on, just enough to hold it there while the shaft goes in. That's it, so we've got the wick in there. What that does is there's a little duct that runs from this top face where we can put oil in, and that duct runs into the hole just behind this wick, so the oil will actually saturate that felt, and the felt will act like a reservoir where it'll hold the oil and keep that shaft oiled within that hole. So here's the shaft, and it actually has another wick in there which we'll replace. We'll just take that one out of there. There we go. Okay, so we've got that old one out. That's the old one. So this will act in the same way. The gears that sit on there, the oil will lubricate the wick will lubricate the gears that sit on that section of the shaft. So now, looking at the drawing, we've got the shaft, the keyway's already in the shaft, but we've got 2 gears to go on here, and then it's like a ring with a pin in it to go on the other side, so we'll get those bits together. So I believe that's the nut that should go on there. So that'll just be used to lock on any changeable gears on the outside of the gearbox here. Undo that nut, take it off, replace the gear, do the nut up again. So the other gears we want are these gears. These gears are slightly different. You can see that this smaller gear on one of them is longer and the larger diameter gear is thinner. So I believe they go that way, looking at the drawing. Go in there, like that. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to put oil on this shaft, because what I'm going to have to do is put the shaft through, hold each gear in and feed it in. So just put some oil on that wick. So the oil I'm using for this is actually hydraulic oil, the sort of oil you would use in a hydraulic jack. That's what I've learned to be recommended just by looking at some of the forums about this lathe. Just put some of this oil on the wick inside of that casing as well. So we just push that through there. Okay, so the first one to go on is this one. I just need to give this a bit of a tap. So there's a keyway on the shaft that we just need to line up with the gear. That's it. So now we've got the next shaft which feeds in here. So looking at the drawing, we've got the largest gear first that needs to go on there. Next gear. See again, that one's, there we go. Okay, easier. So the next gear to go on is this one, which will eventually have a pin through it. See if we can create some space to get that on. So it took a bit of effort to get those keys aligned. I think it's about there. So one thing we can do while we're here is this just goes on here. So this just gives the positions for the gear selections to lock into. So the next thing we can fit is the lead screw, which drawing's getting a bit dirty now, but it all adds character. It's this detail here now that we can fit. So this is an alternative lead screw mounting to what's shown in the general arrangement up in this corner here, but this is the detail I have. So this is the lead screw coming in. There's a collar there which is pinned. We've got a gear there and then two locking nuts to lock it off against each other, so we can fit that now to the gearbox. So there's the shaft the lead screw is in. Here's the gear. So just need it to mesh with that larger diameter gear. That's it. And then there's two half nuts. So again we've got another wick that needs to go in here. Stick that in there. Like I said before, all it does is it just becomes saturated with oil, and then it holds the oil there, keeps the shaft lubricated, acts as a miniature reservoir right against the shaft. So I'll put a bit of oil in there as well. So the next bits I'm going to be fitting are the two gear selectors, these two parts here, onto this shaft, and you get a better view here. These gear selectors that come up around onto the front of the gearbox casing to select the gears. So that's what we'll do next. Sequence on. So the next thing to do now is to fit the gearbox to the bed. So this is just a temporary fix for now because I still need to put the carriage on. So this will have to come back off to get that on. Slides on the end here. So as you can see, there's a bit of paint damage here. It's oily as well. I'll give it a good clean when I'm finished, but it was always a risk that the paint was going to get damaged in this process, but we'll see how it goes. I'll just touch that up with a paintbrush at the end. So the last thing to go on is this lid on top of the gearbox here. So there was 2 grease nipples at the top of this, but I might just make some small plugs, threaded plugs go in there, because as I said at the outset, it's recommended that you use oil on this and not grease. So as I say, I might make some plugs for that. Okay, so there we are. These are the 2 holes I was talking about, using for oiling. So as I say, I'll make 2 plugs for that. I've ordered some small brass screws as well. There's a faceplate just to go on here, which gives you all the information for these gear positions. So that'll screw onto there, as I say, with some small M2 brass screws. So in the next video I'll be rebuilding the headstock, getting the gears on. I plan to clean the lead screw. That's why I've put this end on here, just so I can power it up, get the motor turning the lead screw just while I do a final clean on that, and then we'll move on to getting the carriage and the rest of the build finished. this manual really was very helpful. As I say, I got this from a website, lathes.co.uk, and as well as being able to buy this booklet, there's also a lot of information about these sort of lathes and other lathes, and the history about these lathes. I learned that this is a replica of a 9-inch South Bend American lathe. This is a British copy, and maybe I'll learn some more that I can share with you next time in the next video. So thanks for watching, please subscribe and tune in next time for the spindle, the headstock rebuild.